Hello and happy Halloween. My name is Jameson Rabbit, and the rocker seated next to me, I'm just going to warn you, he hands out bags of pennies if you trick-or-treat at his house. His name is Mike Roth.
And they're all Canadian, too.
Oh, man.
I know, I'm such a jerk.
Oh, you can't spend those anywhere.
Nowhere.
Unreal.
You take them to a bank, they're just like, no, it's the same weight, it's the same look.
I have taken buckets of change to the bank and dumped them in to change about, and they keep kicking out the bad ones and the whatever, and here come all these Canadian pennies. I keep trying to put them in, like maybe if I put it in again, and it comes right back like, no, we don't want that.
Yeah, it's so sophisticated nowadays.
Jerks. Yeah. I'm digging this costume, by the way. I think you should grow this hair out full time.
You don't think this is mine?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm just saying.
It's been a week since I saw you.
A week. And by the way, I love the costume. What movie is this from?
Ghostbusters? Have you seen it?
I've seen it.
Yeah.
Well, at least I've heard of people referencing it.
One of my favorites. A big Peter Venkman guy. So this week we have several movies on the marquee and one that is noticeably absent. But we'll get to that when we get to it. The first movie I have for you this week on the marquee is the newest film from A24, one of our favorites. The movie is called The Florida Project from director Sean Baker. The movie is a film that is set over the course of a summer following this 6-year-old girl here you see here, Mooney, who's played by Brooklyn Prince. She lives kind of full-time, long-term in this motel in Orlando, just outside Disney World. And she and a couple of her other friends who live in these motels just kind of roaming around this tourist trap town and just going places. It's interesting because it's a lot of going places that were made to look really cool, really futuristic. One of the places they go is like Rocket World. You see all these tourist trap places.
I've been to a couple of them.
Yeah, and and it's just these kids kind of finding adventures in this kind of broke down area. Her mom, Haley, she's a bit of a mess. She's a young mom who doesn't want to give up partying. She lives in this broke down motel. And Willem Dafoe, who's really the only actor in this film, is the motel manager who's kind of bedeviled by these kids. But he's also got a big soft spot for them. He's really protective of them, even as they're driving him crazy. And he almost feels responsible for them because their parents, for the most part, are not responsible for them. Haley is very much a hustler, the mom. She's a hustler, trying to find ways to make enough money to stay in the motel for one more week. And so the kids are also hustlers because that's what they've been brought up, how to hustle tourists out of their money. Play some sad stories to the tourists and make some money. And the film itself is really just this look at these people and focusing on the kids. And the kids feel very real. They feel like you're just like almost like a documentary. Like you're following them around. And part of it is that outside of Willem Dafoe, the majority of this cast are actors who have never acted before. That this is basically their debut. And so I'm watching and going, how do I know this person from? No, you don't know them from anything because they've never done anything. It's a lot of heavy lifting for Mr. Dafoe.
Yeah, it takes a lot of natural skill. Did they feel like they were trying to act, or
no,
did they feel natural?
They felt very real.
See, you have to have a real natural ability in order to pull something like that off. I've seen a lot of movies with no-name actors, but they're acting, and you could tell, and it doesn't really pull off.
Right.
Well.
I mean, it worked really well. The kids are really entertaining. Just watching them, they don't know they're poor. And so they're just finding ways to entertain themselves in life. In this area, one of the big event of the summer is watching the old abandoned condos burn down. Everyone comes out. Let's watch the condos burn. Kids, come on, you don't want to miss this. Get the popcorn. It's like the big event. Or watching the fight in the parking lot of the motel. Like these are the big events of the summer. And it's just the film is a focus on the innocence of childhood. And in that innocence of childhood, it's almost heartbreaking to watch because it is like these kids don't know how hard they have it right now. And they don't know that they are missing out on a lot because their mom refuses to grow up. And it's all in the shadow of the world's the happiest place on earth. I mean, right outside the gates of Disney World, everyone's coming into town and they're just kind of stuck outside of it. It's a beautiful movie, and it's one of these movies that was like heartwarming. I had a big smile. 2 minutes later, tears running down my cheek. I mean, it's great. The only problem with this movie is I found the ending to be really unsatisfying. Like the last 6 minutes, I would say.
Well, that's not bad.
No.
It does put a bad tempo on, but yeah.
It does. It was kind of unfortunate because the ending felt out of place from the rest of the movie. But that does nothing. Willem Dafoe blew me away here because, you know, he's not usually the guy who's a smiley, heartwarming kind of fella.
Yeah.
So it was great to see him in this kind of role. And it was great. I mean, like I say, he had to carry a huge weight in this movie to kind of move it along with a lot of these no-name people. And so I really, really enjoyed it. And Sean Baker, who was the director, did Tangerine last year, which was another great film that was very similar in tone to this. And so I recommend it. I ended up giving it 4.5 out of 5 stars.
That's really good.
Really good movie. Another huge one for A24. Just keep churning out interesting, exciting movies.
I can't wait to the moment where A24 you could actually pick it up in every theater.
That would be nice, wouldn't it? Speaking of that, what do you have next, sir?
Well, I have the Snowman. This is Jeffrey Alfredson. He directed this based on a novel by Joe Nesbo, which is he is from Norway, and of course that's where his book is from. And this is where the movie takes place. It's Oslo, Norway, and we have Michael Fassbender. He plays Henry Hole. He is a detective on the run.
It's not Henry Hole. It's the worst name in movies.
Harry Hole. Sorry. Yeah. Woo. Well. Just got
Change
weird.
your name, Harry.
Harry Hole, he's a detective looking for a killer that tends to kill only when the snow comes down. The MO of everybody he kills is they're all female, they're all have children, and they've all been infidelis in their relationships. So Michael Fassbender, he's getting clues. The Snowman, he sends out little letters, these little clues. Really, they don't add up, which I feel like is really par for a lot of detective movies right now. It's kind of a shame that I have to say that's par, but that's what you get. And the backdrop is absolutely beautiful. I think when I went to see this movie, I was in I needed that for some reason because I really did enjoy this movie. The acting is just par. The story is somewhat bland. The ending really doesn't add up to all the clues that the Snowman gave you.
That's the problem.
But I just, every scenery just took my breath away.
Yeah, it's a beautiful film. And it has a lot of promise to the movie. My problem with this movie is that there's just so much wrong in the editing of this film. And I just had so many issues with the edit of this film, and that it didn't come together. And so because of that, I didn't really care about a lot of the characters in this movie.
Okay.
So I don't care if the killer gets them.
And a lot of the characters kind of blend together, too.
Especially a lot of the females in this movie tend to kind of blend together. I felt bad because I really like Rebecca Ferguson, and I felt like she just kind of was just there. Val Kilmer's in this movie, and we got to stop and talk about Val Kilmer for a second.
Yeah, that was a little disturbing.
It was hard to watch Val Kilmer. He's I didn't know he was in this movie until I saw the opening credits. Oh, Val Kilmer. First scene where comes in, I didn't recognize him, and he's been dealing with, I think, throat cancer. He looks really unwell, just health-wise unwell. A few years ago we saw Val Kilmer had put on a ton of weight. He's lost a lot of that, and it looks like he lost it in an unhealthy way. When he first showed up, I didn't recognize him. I thought, who's this haggard-looking Norwegian actor? Because his lines are also overdubbed, ADR'd, and they don't line up with his lips. Okay. And so I assumed, this is some Norwegian actor, and he doesn't speak good English, so they overdubbed an English voice. But it was bad. And then in the second scene, I was like, oh, that's Val Kilmer. Oh, no.
Yeah.
He didn't need to be in this movie. His character.
I kind of recognized him by his eyes and stuff like that, but otherwise it felt a little painful watching him.
It did. It did.
And talking about Norwegian actors, that was another thing that I found a little jarring about the movie, and we've explained this before. You're in Norway, and I keep on wondering why there's so many British and American people there.
That's just the way for all Hollywood movies. If you're foreign, we'll just make it British.
Yeah, exactly.
That is our the extent of how foreign we're willing to get.
The only time
we are in China, we'll make them British.
That's the only time where you actually see people actually try to hit the nail is if they're Asian.
Yeah.
And that's it. You
But
go to
outside of
India,
that,
British. You
we
go
need
to
to play
Africa,
somebody who's
British.
German, give them a British accent. Why not? It's just, yeah, that's bad Hollywood.
It's been overdone, and I don't see it ever change.
Speaking of bad accents, though, J.K. Simmons, the great J.K. Simmons, was attempting some sort of accent in this movie. I love J.K. Simmons, but
Yeah.
I was just kind of disturbed by what he was going with for this accent.
Usually I diss people for having a really bad accent. This time I'm going to say kudos for trying.
It was better than what Tom Cruise did in American Made.
Oh,
sometimes
yeah.
I'm going to have it, sometimes I won't.
Yep.
My issues with this movie, too, are this movie's slow, very slow.
Yeah.
I'll say this. The first time I saw it, I fell asleep for a nice chunk of the movie.
Okay.
Which led me to seeing it a second time. Did not improve my experience with this movie. I could have been just fine. The climax of the movie, there's an action sequence that is shot so horribly, I couldn't see what was going on.
Yeah.
Another thing that drove me nuts, and this is a thing that drives me nuts in a lot of films I nitpick, is there was nobody on set taking care of continuity. So you could tell that there were a lot of reshoots in this movie because from scene to scene, Michael Fassbender's hair would go from like long and shaggy to buzz cut, to long and shaggy again to close cut. And I'm like, could nobody say like, hey, Mike, when you were here shooting before, you had a haircut, man. You can't show up with long hair. Or do what they're doing with Justice League and CGI that thing.
CG all the hair.
But something about it had to be done because it was driving me nuts that nobody on set cared about this.
I really didn't even notice that part.
Oh, it was driving me insane.
And honest, when I say I like this movie, really, it was just a lot of it is the peaceful landscape.
Yeah, the landscape is
so
beautiful.
terrible.
I love Michael Fassbender, and I love going to his movies, whether they're good or bad. He's had a few bad ones in a row.
This year.
Apocalypse. Assassin's Creed. This one felt like he was kind of going through the motions, and he's way more superior of an actor than a guy who goes through the motions.
Yeah.
And that was kind of disappointing to me because with this cast, like, okay, this could be some. I was excited for this film.
Yeah.
The other part is, famously now afterwards, the directors come out and said, we were only able to shoot like 85% of the script. We weren't able to shoot 15% of what we needed to shoot, so we had to try and get creative in editing to cobble together the story. I felt that. I felt like they were missing pieces and things were shifted around to try and make a story. That's part of why the clues don't always add up.
Yeah.
Because maybe we didn't get to shoot all the clues.
And really, when you're watching the trailers are different than the movie.
Yeah.
There's a famous scene in the trailer, and you're like, oh, that looks good. And when you watch it in the movie, it's like, they must have shot the trailer much afterwards because what the trailer shows looks better.
Absolutely. I think you and I might disagree a little bit on this one.
We will.
What did you end up giving the Snowman?
I gave it a 3. It's a very weak 3, but I left the movie pretty happy with it.
Okay.
And that, with all my faults that I'm finding with it, I know it's a weak 3, but for some reason, I still enjoyed the movie.
I found this movie remarkably boring. And
Your second time better.
the second time was, I wish I would have been able to fall asleep the second time. I give this movie 1 star, and it's based completely off the cinematography.
Okay.
Nothing else. 1 star for cinematography. Story brings it down. So, 1 out of 5 for me. Big disappointment.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue. I just had fun.
Fair enough. All right, moving on. What's the next movie you have, sir?
Well, this is supposed to be the big one.
Yes.
But losing tons of money.
Yeah, they're talking about this next film losing $100 million. That's the budget of a good movie.
Yeah, that's not good. What we are talking about is Geostorm, directed by Dean Devlin, also written by Dean Devlin.
It gets blamed double, I guess.
It's blamed double. He is the same guy for Independence Day.
Yeah,
so.
great job.
Woo! Well, anyhow, what you have here is... Okay, this movie is, with all the changing weather patterns and stuff like that, they had to do something. The weather is just killing people. So they have Jake Lawson, played by Gerard Butler, he makes this entire space station about the size of a small town.
Oh, there's a net that goes around the world.
And a net goes around the world, and he single-handedly built this with a very small team. And he's very proud of it, and he gets very angry when anybody else says, "Hey, we helped all together." No, me.
Dutch boy.
It's all me. I made Dutch boy. And he constantly spews out a lot of scientific jibber-jabber, which just totally reminds me of any Michael Bay movie. And he gets really sore when his brother, who is a bureaucrat, is forced to fire him because he is so rogue with his attitude.
He's a renegade. He don't follow the rules.
So, after 2 years of, them not talking to each other and Jake just living out in the far coast of California with his daughter, who is like Mensa smart, and then they did nothing with it. They get him to go back out to outer space to fix the space station because it's destroying people. It's totally killing people. It's freezing towns like someone dropped liquid nitrogen on it. It's blowing up pipelines underneath the ground in a weird way where the underground gets really hot, but the above ground stays pretty cool, and you can drive away, but it's really dangerous. So, he has to go up to this thing and fix it, and his only rule is, I'll save the Earth, but my brother's not going to be involved. I'm being sarcastic. This movie is very, very...
It's so cliche.
It's very
cliche. It wants
cliche.
to be Armageddon in the worst way. When you talk about the daughter, like, they really were trying to do an Armageddon, and and then the daughter and daddy's got to go to space and come home, daddy.
And there's a side story with Max Lawson, played by Jim Sturgis, and Sarah Wilson, who was...
the Forbidden Romance.
The Forbidden Romance. She is the president's head of security, and she would protect the president with her very life. And as a matter of fact, when her boyfriend even mentions it, hey, who would you take a bullet for? She automatically says the president before you. But when you said, hey, we need to kidnap the president, you're right, I'm on that. It is that stupid. And when you have the implausible actions closer to the end where it's really, again, Michael Bay Transformers, where things really shouldn't happen. They explain it with even a dumber explanation like, I'm the president. I could bend physics because I'm the president.
It follows all of the cliches where, no spoiler here, all the cliches of like, to save it all, I've got to reset it manually by going to the reactor core. Like, I've seen this 900 times. In much, much better movies, and even not so good movies. It's just so, it's like they fell into every cliche trap. And disaster movies are not a high bar for a genre, but this is a really bad one.
So you're going to see this movie mainly for the disasters, because that's what you're seeing the disasters for.
But that's the problem.
And that's another problem,
The disasters are secondary. This is a movie about a sibling rivalry and two brothers who have thin skin and are just have hurt feelings. It's all about those two idiots.
Yeah, and every single catastrophe that you see...
You've seen in the trailer.
You've seen in the trailer. You've seen them in other movies done a lot better. The CG is really not on spot for this current age.
I've seen the big wave topple a building.
Yeah.
I've seen these things. And then you give away something cool, like the plane falling out of the sky. That's a cool effect.
Yeah.
You give it away in the trailer.
Yeah.
So I've seen one of the cooler effects you have. Now what?
But by the time that scene came, that scene was in the middle of one of the worst, lamest scenes I've seen in a long time of a girl outrunning a tsunami.
Yeah. And all we're worried about is her.
Yeah.
Not the thousands of people that are dying behind her.
Died in her wake.
Or in the plane or anything. As long as the bikini chick made it, we're good to go.
Yeah, and she managed to outrun a liquid nitrogen type
Basically.
death. Really.
Everyone's flash freezing, but she made it.
And cold really doesn't work like that, where you could stay, bikini warm just on a thin surface between dropping out of the sky,
so
freezing.
Much of this movie is silly. They try and emphasize like, it was an international effort to build this massive thing, a net around the world with a space station. But yet Gerard Butler is like the guy who knows every square inch, every screw. He can tell you how many bolts are in this thing.
Yeah.
He's the only one that he knows every system in this entire global thing. I'm the only one. I'm the guy.
Yeah.
It's so cliche and lazy. It's so lazy.
And they make jokes about this, and this movie could have been good if it was just Sharknado-type goofy.
Right.
If they were so self-aware that it was just hilarious.
San Andreas was.
Yes.
San Andreas was more fun and more believable than this because they're like, yeah, it's going to be The Rock fighting a volcano and an earthquake and whatever.
But they concentrated so much on this very lame brother story.
It's so dumb. The only thing I liked about it was President Andy Garcia. I like him. I'd vote for President Andy Garcia. He seemed like a guy I'd punch the ballot for.
I didn't like anybody.
What did you end up giving Geostorm,
I gave it a 0.5, and the only reason why I gave it a 0.5 is I did stay to just see if it could get worse.
Yeah.
And yes, it did.
It continued to get worse.
This would have been a movie that I would have walked out of normally, but I was sat there with my 0.5 wondering how bad this could get.
I gave it 1 star. It's not a good movie. It's not a fun movie. That's what we want out of these, is fun. It wasn't fun. It was stupid.
Fun, silly, something.
Something. We got none of that. All right, speaking of a lot of fun, let's turn to the last one on the marquee. We have Only the Brave from director Joseph Kosinski. He's the man who brought us Tron Legacy and Oblivion. This movie is all about the Granite Mountain Hotshots. They're a team of firefighters down in Prescott, Arizona, who, before they became Hotshots, they were a team of firefighters who were trying to become the first municipal team of hotshots. The hotshots are the guys that go into the forest fires and fight it from inside the fire. And normally those are all, except for this team, are federal teams, not a city-owned firefighting squad. Josh Brolin plays the head of this firefighter unit, who is pushing desperately to try and get them qualified as hotshots. And the movie focuses really on the stresses on him, his team, and the families of these men who are really obsessed with it. You also have Miles Teller in here as the young recruit who is a mess. He's a heroin addict, and it's kind of his story of redemption, too. Josh Brolin sees a lot of himself in him. There's the redemption story for him. You have Jeff Bridges as the fire chief. Just give me Jeff Bridges all day long.
I like Jeff Bridges.
He plays the old fire chief who's trying to help Josh Brolin. I mean, these two craggly old faces between Bridges and Brolin, I mean, are just perfect for this kind of role.
Yeah.
And it's really the story of this brotherhood of these men, and it almost to me feels like Band of Brothers, like a war movie. You see these guys testing themselves, and then they have to go into this battle where I mean, it's insane to go out into the middle of this thousands of acres firefight.
Of just brush.
Forest fire, and just go. And what I liked was the story didn't focus so much on the science of fire. It didn't bog down in that. They would give you things about, like, we should go here, this, that. But it was more about the guys and their relationships and their families. Jennifer Connelly's in this as Josh Brolin's wife, and just kind of the stresses that it puts on her and how she has to deal with it. And just... I really enjoyed the claustrophobic feeling that I got as you watch them go into these fires. It was interesting. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Now, this is I don't know if I said this. This is based on the true events that just happened just a few years ago. So,
should we divulge the true events?
No spoilers. This was a tragic event.
Yeah.
This is a story because it was a great loss. And so this movie, it addresses that, and it is something that happened very recently, and with what's going on out west right now is
timely.
Yeah, very timely. And one of the things I enjoy about this movie is how you just feel the drain on everyone, the physical drain, the mental drain. You watch Josh Brolin start to break down. You watch Miles Teller break down. Now Taylor Kitsch is in this movie. Poor Taylor Kitsch, man. I really want Taylor Kitsch to be a good actor. I don't know if he'll ever make that. But what did you think of Only the Brave?
I wanted to get into this film a little bit more. I thought the first part of the movie was a little slow, and I know they were developing a lot of things, but to me it just seemed a little not how you run Hot Shots fire department. You think of the Hot Shots or police or fire or military, I expect it to be completely 1% serious. And these guys were really serious portrayed in the film. But Josh Brolin, he would hire people on gut feelings.
Sure.
So, like, if I want someone saving my life. I don't want it to be on a gut feeling. And when they got promoted or certified to be hotshots, the way the movie portrayed it, it was like, you know what, you guys went against what I thought. I've been doing this forever, but you know what, you guys work really hard, and you got Motsy, so let's make you a full-fledged fire. And after seeing these type of scenes, in the very end, after the tragedy happened, I kept on thinking, well, maybe guts and Motsy and hard work really shouldn't qualify you to do this dangerous work. I didn't say they had it coming. I mean, I really respect the bravery that these guys went through, but at the end of the movie, I had a thought that I don't think the director wanted me to think, and that is maybe we shouldn't just allow people to do certified things to save other people's lives if they're not quite there yet. It shouldn't be just hard work and guts and
well, yeah, I don't know that we'll have any more municipal hotshot teams.
But that's how I felt like this director portrayed this film. I also had a little bit of problem with the development of some of the characters. A lot of the things, what they would do is they'd have this traumatic event or this other event, and then they would, instead of showing you how those characters changed, they would just skip ahead a couple of months, and all of a sudden they're a completely different character. I find that sometimes cool because you could fill in with your own thoughts, which sometimes are better than what they could actually show you to say how that character developed. But in this case, I just thought it was kind of lazy writing. I do like the end, though. There was a lot of action and stuff like that. And when I say like, I also mean it's also very tragic.
All right. What did you end up giving Only the Brave?
I gave it a 2.5.
Okay. I liked it. I liked the building of the camaraderie of these guys. Like I said, it felt like band of brothers almost to me. Guys coming together in tough circumstances. So I gave it 3.5 stars. I liked it a lot. I like Josh Brolin quite a bit.
All right.
So now the one movie that we didn't see this week happens to be the number 1 movie in the land. I was going to go see it. Unfortunately, I came down with a bit of an injury and kind of been laid up the last few days. So we do not have a review of Boo 2, Medea Halloween Part 2, which is going to make this throwback seem weird, but we are throwing back to Scary Movie 2. Mike, you love 2001, the Scary Movie franchise, not the first one, the second one.
The second one is...
Because we had Boo 2.
It's Boo 2, and it's also the best out of the 4 scary movies. You have David Cross, you have James Wood, you have Tim Carey, Anna Faris comes back for Cindy, you got the Waynes, all the Waynes, and Marlon and Sean. It's a fantastically funny movie.
This is my favorite one of the Scary Movie films. Got Kathleen Robertson. I like this film.
Yeah,
it's a fun time. I rewatched it. It's good. Good scares. Chris Elliott's creepy.
It's super cheesy, super goofy, super fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So in this time of All Hallows Eve, give this one a watch.
Is that why we're dressed up like this?
Nope. I just showed up today. I like this. All right, let's quickly take a look at what is coming soon. November 1st, we have one movie on the marquee. That is A Bad Mom's Christmas. Bad Moms is coming back with a sequel. This time it's going to be a Christmas movie, November 1st. Then November 3rd, we have Thor Ragnarok finally coming to theaters. We also have Last Flag Flying, the new Richard Linklater movie starring Steve Carell and Bryan Cranston. Looks really interesting to me. And lastly, we have Lady Bird starring Saoirse Ronan, which is a drama following a young lady through her life.
And that one looks interesting.
It does look interesting as well. Before we leave you, we want to thank our sponsors. Thank you, Marcus Theaters. Thank you for sponsoring the show. We do enjoy it. We love the Palace here in beautiful Sun Prairie. If you want to find more from us, I suggest you go and look for us on Facebook or Twitter. Find us at Real Reviews TV on Twitter. You can also find us on YouTube if you search Real Reviews K-Sun. You can find a whole ton of past episodes, 180-some episodes.
Creeping up on 200.
Just go to sunprairiemediacenter.com. Next week, we're going to be talking about, we've got all kinds of Jigsaw.
Yeah.
We've got Thank You for Your Service. We've got Suburbicon. We're going to be talking about all of those things next week. And Mike is going to look exactly as you see him right now.
I might cut my hair, and I think I'm going to dye back to gray.
I think you should be like Joe Dirt, where you just glue this to your head.
Oh, nice.
Just have a wig growing out of your hair. I like that. But until next week, my name is Jameson.
I'm Mike Roth.
Thanks for watching.